Saturday Night Live has been a comedy institution for decades, but behind the laughs lies a history of backstage drama. From ego clashes to gender tensions, SNL's cast members have often found themselves at odds. This is the story of the feuds, fights, and frictions that have shaped America's longest-running sketch comedy show. The early years, Chevy Chase versus everyone. Saturday Night Live burst onto the scene in 1975, and it didn't take long for tensions to arise among the cast. At the center of many early conflicts was Chevy Chase, whose rapid rise to stardom created friction with his co-stars. Chase and John Belushi had a history before SNL, having worked together on National Lampoon's off-Broadway show, Lemmings, but their relationship soured quickly on SNL. As Chase's fame grew, so did his ego. He'd make jokes at Belushi's expense, claiming he taught him how to use a fork and shaved his back to make him presentable for TV. Belushi, feeling overshadowed, grew increasingly frustrated. He felt Chase was getting all the best material and screen time. In Belushi's words, "I go where I'm kicked. They throw me bones dogs wouldn't chew on." When Chase left SNL midway through the second season, he was replaced by Bill Murray. This led to one of the most infamous backstage fights in SNL history. Murray, predisposed to dislike Chase due to his reputation, made a crude joke about Chase's troubled marriage. Chase fired back with a comment about Murray's pockmarked face. Minutes before the live show was set to start, the two came to blows in John Belushi's dressing room. It took Belushi and Murray's brother Brian to separate them. Years later, Chase claimed Belushi had been poisoning Murray against him out of jealousy. Murray later downplayed the incident, calling it a Hollywood fight, and saying they eventually buried the hatchet. However, the tension between Chase and his former castmates remained palpable for years, setting the tone for future conflicts on the show. Gender tensions. John Belushi versus female cast members. While Chevy Chase's conflicts were largely ego-driven, John Belushi's issues with his female co-stars pointed to a deeper problem of sexism in the early days of SNL. According to Jane Curtin, one of the original cast members, Belushi openly declared his belief that women weren't funny. This wasn't just talk. Curtin claims Belushi would actively sabotage sketches written by women during table reads by giving lackluster performances. In an interview with Oprah, Curtin stated, "They were working against John, who said women are just fundamentally not funny." This attitude created a hostile work environment for the female cast members and writers. The problem wasn't limited to Belushi. Curtin later revealed on Watch What Happens Live that there were a few people that just out and out believed that women should not have been there. Interestingly, Belushi's widow, Judy Belushi-Pisano, has defended him, saying he was misunderstood and blaming his views on his upbringing. She claimed, "John actually was a woman's liber before I was, sometimes contrary to some things you might hear." Regardless of the reasons, this gender-based tension had a significant impact on the show's dynamic and writing process. It created an additional hurdle for women trying to make their mark in the male-dominated world of comedy, and likely influenced the content that made it to air. The 1980s turmoil. The 1980s brought new faces and new conflicts to SNL. One of the most tumultuous periods was the 1980 to 1981 season, which saw an almost complete turnover of the cast and the departure of creator Lorne Michaels. Charles Rocket, tapped as the new breakout star, found himself at odds with two unexpected rising stars, Eddie Murphy and Joe Piscopo. Rocket, positioned as the next Chevy Chase, was expected to be the center of attention. Instead, it was 19-year-old Eddie Murphy who began garnering all the attention. Resentful of Murphy's meteoric rise, Rocket was openly scornful and dismissive of his young co-star around the SNL offices. The tension between them was palpable, with Rocket struggling to accept that he wasn't the show's new centerpiece. Rocket's issues weren't limited to Murphy. He also clashed with Joe Piscopo, another unexpected success story from that season. When Rocket complained about Piscopo's Weekend Update bit getting more laughs than his own, a shouting match erupted. Rocket yelled, "You're not part of this cast at all," to which Piscopo responded, "You're one-dimensional." The argument escalated to the point where Rocket threatened physical violence. This era of SNL also saw conflicts arise between cast members Victoria Jackson, Nora Dunn, and Jan Hooks. Jackson, known for her conservative views, often found herself at odds with her more liberal castmates. The tension came to a head during a cast meeting called to address problems with the show. Jackson stood up and declared that the issue was Dunn and Hooks, accusing them of not cooperating in sketches, slamming doors in people's faces, and engaging in backstabbing behavior. When Dunn and Hooks left the room, Jackson called out the rest of the cast for not backing her up. In response, Dana Carvey quipped, "You didn't hear anyone disagreeing, did you?" These conflicts highlighted the volatile nature of SNL's ever-changing cast dynamics. As new stars emerged and others faded, the behind-the-scenes drama often rivaled the on-screen comedy for intensity. The 1990s, Norm Macdonald's conflicts. The 1990s brought a new generation of comedians to SNL, and with them came new conflicts. One of the most notable feuds of this era involved Norm Macdonald, known for his deadpan delivery and controversial jokes as the anchor of Weekend Update. Macdonald's most public conflict was with fellow cast member Chris Kattan. In a 1997 Rolling Stone profile of the new SNL ensemble, Macdonald went out of his way to criticize Kattan, questioning his sexuality and bluntly stating that he didn't find Kattan funny. This wasn't just a one-time incident. According to reports, Macdonald and Kattan had a deeply antagonistic relationship behind the scenes. A source told the New York Observer, "They had a very acrimonious relationship. Norm would rip Kattan to his face. The animosity went both ways. Kattan reportedly would pester and berate Macdonald just before he was set to go on air, attempting to throw him off his game." Macdonald's conflicts weren't limited to his fellow cast members. He famously butted heads with NBC executives, particularly Don Ohlmeyer, over his relentless jokes about O.J. Simpson during the highly publicized murder trial. This conflict eventually led to Macdonald's controversial firing from Weekend Update in 1998. Macdonald's tenure on SNL was marked by his unapologetic style both on and off camera. While it made for memorable television, it also created a tense atmosphere behind the scenes. His willingness to publicly criticize colleagues and network executives alike set him apart from many of his peers and contributed to the show's backstage drama during the 90s. Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan, the Night at the Roxbury drama. One of the more complex and controversial conflicts in SNL history involves Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan, centering around the production of the movie A Night at the Roxbury. The trouble began when clueless director Amy Heckerling was in talks to helm the film, which was based on a recurring SNL sketch featuring Ferrell and Kattan. According to Kattan's memoir, Baby Don't Hurt Me, SNL creator Lorne Michaels, who was producing the film, encouraged Kattan to accept Heckerling's romantic advances to secure her involvement in the project. Kattan claims he initially rejected Heckerling's advances, but eventually gave in to pressure from Michaels. This led to a brief affair between Kattan and Heckerling, who ultimately produced but did not direct A Night at the Roxbury. When production on the movie wrapped, Kattan wrote that Ferrell refused to speak to him for months. Eventually, Ferrell confronted Kattan backstage at SNL, allegedly saying, "I didn't call you back because I didn't want to talk to you. I don't want to be your friend anymore. I'm going to be professional and still work with you on the show, but that's it." While Ferrell didn't explicitly state his reasons, Kattan understood that his co-star was disgusted by the circumstances surrounding his affair with Heckerling. This incident strained the relationship between two of SNL's most popular performers of the late 90s. It also raised questions about the power dynamics and pressures within the entertainment industry, particularly in the pre-Me Too era. The Night at the Roxbury drama remains one of the more complex and morally ambiguous conflicts in SNL history, involving not just cast members but also producers and directors. Tracy Morgan's beefs. Tracy Morgan, a cast member from 1996 to 2003, wasn't shy about expressing his feelings towards his SNL colleagues, both during his time on the show and after he left. In his 2009 book, I Am the New Black, Morgan took aim at two of his former castmates, Chris Kattan and Sherry O'Terry. He wrote, "All I have to say about that is, where's Chris Kattan now? Where's Sherry O'Terry now? That B can't even get arrested." Morgan's comments weren't limited to the written page. When recording the audiobook version, he elaborated on his feelings, saying that while he loved some cast members like Will Ferrell, Colin Quinn, and Molly Shannon, he never cared for Kattan and O'Terry. These remarks shed light on the underlying tensions that existed during Morgan's tenure on the show. While it's not uncommon for cast members to have varying degrees of closeness, Morgan's public airing of his grievances years after leaving SNL was unusually frank. Morgan also had issues with Jimmy Fallon, though for different reasons. In a 2007 interview with Penthouse, Morgan expressed his frustration with Fallon's habit of breaking character and laughing during sketches. He saw this as attention-seeking behavior, saying, "That's taking all the attention off of everybody else and putting it on you like, oh, look at me, I'm the cute one." Morgan even claimed he had to warn Fallon not to break character during their shared sketches, saying, "I told him not to do that in my sketches, so he never did." These conflicts highlight the complex dynamics that exist within the SNL cast. From personality clashes to disagreements over comedic styles, the high-pressure environment of live television comedy can amplify tensions between performers. Despite these issues, Morgan's time on SNL was generally seen as successful, launching him to greater fame on 30 Rock and beyond. His willingness to speak candidly about his experiences on the show provides a rare glimpse into the behind-the-scenes dynamics of one of television's most enduring institutions, modern-era conflicts. Even in more recent years, SNL hasn't been immune to cast conflicts. One of the more notable modern feuds involved Pete Davidson and former SNL star Chevy Chase. The conflict began when Chase, in a 2018 Washington Post interview, harshly criticized the current state of SNL. He said, "I'm amazed that Lorne has gone so low. I had to watch a little of it, and I just couldn't believe it." Davidson, a cast member at the time, didn't take kindly to Chase's comments. In an appearance on Howard Stern's radio show, Davidson fired back, saying, "F. Chevy Chase, I hate that dude." He went on to accuse Chase of ruining his own career with his attitude and behavior. What made this conflict unique was that it crossed generational lines. Chase, a star from SNL's early days, was criticizing the modern iteration of the show, while Davidson, representing the new guard, defended the show's evolution and current relevance. This clash highlighted the changing nature of comedy and the different expectations and styles of different eras of SNL. It also demonstrated the loyalty many current cast members feel towards the show and its producer, Lorne Michaels. While less public, other tensions have bubbled up in the modern era of SNL. Cast members have occasionally alluded to personality clashes or creative differences, though these are often handled more discreetly than in earlier years of the show. The show's increasing use of social media and digital platforms has also created new avenues for conflict. Cast members' tweets or public statements have sometimes led to controversy or disagreement, both within the cast and with the public. Despite these occasional flare-ups, the modern era of SNL has generally been marked by a more professional and less openly antagonistic atmosphere than in earlier decades. This may be due to changes in social norms, more careful management of public personas, or simply a different approach to handling internal conflicts. Nevertheless, the Davidson-Chase feud serves as a reminder that even as SNL evolves, the potential for conflict remains a part of the show's DNA. Behind the scenes, Lorne Michaels' role. Throughout SNL's history, one figure has remained constant: creator and producer Lorne Michaels. His role in managing and sometimes exacerbating cast conflicts has been crucial to the show's longevity. Michaels has often been described as a father figure to the cast, but his management style isn't always warm and fuzzy. He's known for fostering a competitive environment, believing that competition brings out the best in his performers. In some cases, Michaels has directly intervened in cast conflicts. For instance, he reportedly forced Chevy Chase to apologize to Terry Sweeney for making offensive comments. In other situations, he's taken a more hands-off approach, allowing tensions to play out naturally. Michael's decisions about airtime, sketch selection, and cast dynamics have sometimes been sources of conflict themselves. Many cast members have spoken about the stress of trying to get their sketches on air or secure more prominent roles in the show. However, Michaels has also been credited with keeping the show together through numerous turbulent periods. His ability to navigate network politics, manage big personalities, and consistently find new talent has been key to SNL's survival. Former cast members often speak of Michaels with a mixture of respect, fear, and gratitude. While his methods may sometimes contribute to tensions, his overall leadership has managed to keep SNL on the air for decades, outlasting countless other comedy shows. Michael's role underscores the delicate balance required in managing a high-pressure creative environment like SNL, fostering enough competition to drive creativity while preventing conflicts from derailing the show. The impact of feuds on SNL's output. The behind-the-scenes conflicts at SNL have undeniably affected the show's creative output over the years, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. In some cases, personal tensions have led to memorable on-air moments. The competitive atmosphere has often pushed cast members to up their game, resulting in sharper performances and more daring comedy. The famous Weekend Update segments, for instance, have often benefited from the host's desire to outdo their predecessors or competitors. However, feuds have also led to awkward on-screen interactions and missed opportunities. When cast members refuse to work together or sabotage each other's sketches, it limits the show's creative possibilities. The alleged sabotage of women-written sketches in the early years, for example, likely prevented some great material from making it to air. Conflict has also influenced the writing process. Writers and performers who clash personally may avoid collaborating, potentially missing out on fruitful creative partnerships. On the flip side, some of the show's best material has come from writers and performers challenging each other to do better. In terms of long-term impact, cast feuds have influenced the show's cast changes. Some talented performers have left the show earlier than they might have due to personal conflicts, altering the course of SNL's history. Despite these challenges, SNL has managed to turn many of its internal conflicts into fodder for comedy, often with impressive results. The show's ability to find humor in its own drama has become part of its enduring appeal. Reconciliations and reflections. Time has a way of healing old wounds, and many former SNL cast members who once feuded have managed to reconcile or at least soften their stances over the years. Bill Murray and Chevy Chase, whose physical altercation became SNL legend, have since buried the hatchet. Murray has spoken about the incident with a mixture of humor and regret, calling it a Hollywood fight and suggesting that it wasn't as serious as it seemed at the time. Even Tracy Morgan, who was openly critical of Chris Kattan and Sherry O'Terry in his book, has taken a more diplomatic stance in recent years. While he hasn't exactly retracted his statements, he's focused more on the positive aspects of his SNL experience in later interviews. SNL reunions and anniversary specials have played a significant role in healing old rifts. These events bring together cast members from different eras, allowing them to bond over their shared experiences and reminisce about their time on the show. Many former cast members have also gained perspective with time, acknowledging that the high-pressure environment of SNL could amplify conflicts that might seem trivial in retrospect. The shared experience of having been part of such an iconic show often overshadows old grudges. In some cases, cast members who once feuded have even ended up working together again, finding common ground in their post-SNL careers. The comedy world is relatively small, and paths often cross again, leading to opportunities for reconciliation. These reconciliations and reflections have added another layer to SNL's rich history. They demonstrate the complex, evolving relationships between cast members and highlight the intense, unique experience of being part of the show. The ability of former cast members to look back on their conflicts with humor and self-awareness has become part of SNL's legacy, contributing to the show's mystique and enduring appeal. SNL's enduring legacy, despite conflicts. Saturday Night Live has managed to thrive for decades, despite the numerous internal conflicts that have plagued the show. This resilience speaks to the unique nature of the SNL experience and its significant place in comedy history. The shared experience of being part of SNL creates a bond among alumni that often transcends past feuds. Many former cast members, even those who once couldn't stand each other, speak of their time on the show with a mixture of nostalgia and pride. The intensity of the SNL experience, the late nights, the pressure to be funny on demand, the thrill of live television, creates a camaraderie that's hard to replicate elsewhere. SNL's ability to launch careers has also contributed to its enduring legacy. Despite the conflicts and tensions, the show remains a coveted platform for up-and-coming comedians. The list of SNL alumni who have gone on to successful careers in film, television, and stand-up comedy is testament to the show's impact on the entertainment industry. Moreover, SNL's cultural relevance has remained strong throughout its run. The show's ability to adapt to changing times, bringing in fresh talent and addressing current events, has kept it at the forefront of American comedy. From political satire to pop culture parodies, SNL continues to be a part of the national conversation. The conflicts and feuds, in some ways, have become part of SNL's mystique. Despite its tumultuous history, SNL has not just survived but thrived. The conflicts that once threatened to tear it apart have become part of its legend, fueling its creative fire. As SNL continues to evolve, it remains a testament to the enduring power of comedy to unite us, even in the face of discord.